Today. You got me.
Let's get into America's other team, though, first. Greg Hardy will see his first NFL action after missing 19 games. It'll be his first game as a Cowboy. Take a listen.
Greg, you got a sack a game habit and an all-pro background stuff. Will it take a while to ramp up to that, or has all this time been ramping up to that?
I hope not. I hope I come out guns blazing. You know, I'm full of excitement. I'm full of juice, and I'm ready to go. You know, have what they call fresh legs. So I'm really excited to get out there and get on that grass or that turf and see what they can do.
You mentioned how difficult this whole process has been, Greg. What have you learned about yourself through the whole process?
I'm a really good pass rusher. I want to put my mind to it. I had a good off season and a good camp. You know, we were all there. I got to be a part of a group. I got to get off the ball with some defensive ends, some defensive tackles, and just get back to the swing of things.
Your thoughts about going through the legal process and then the challenge and where you are now? Man,
once you put that helmet on, you really only have thoughts of winning. It's a contagious kind of thing. It's a cowboy kind of thing. I feel like when I get around these guys, I feel like it's not really about anything but winning and getting sacks and doing my job, and I'm really good at that. So.
Brady's not an easy opponent for your debut game as a Cowboy. How do you view that?
Same one I did last time I saw him. Hopefully on the ground.
How many times?
Did you sack him last time you saw him?
Come again?
Did you sack him last time you saw him?
Luckily, he gave me one. So thank God for Tom Brady. You know.
On the ground, fresh legs, guns blazing. Skip Bayless. How do you feel about Hardy's comments?
Stephen A. Smith, now the tables are turned and we have to talk about my favorite team, not your Yankees, but my Cowboys. So, Molly asked, how do I feel? Where do I start? Embarrassed, ashamed, torn from the bottom of my soul that now I'm thrust into a position of having to root for this guy on this Sunday, albeit against the New England Patriots, my AFC team. That's a whole other issue.
Tough for you.
But Stephen A., think about this. Now my Cowboys season hinges upon the returns, plural, and immediate impact of Greg Hardy coming back from his suspension for conduct detrimental to the league, and also Rolando McClain returning from his suspension for violating the substance abuse policy. I don't love it. And I told you from the start, day after they signed Greg Hardy, Jerry Jones took this risk, this plunge, even though the money part of it is low risk, high reward. But it is a plunge PR-wise, and I told you I didn't love it. And I told you that I will disqualify myself when the games start, the real games start. I'm still going to root for my Cowboys, but I'm going to have a hard time including him in the mix of my Cowboys. And what he said yesterday, Stephen A., makes that even harder for me. I just wish that somebody had been able to get to Greg Hardy before he did his first interview as a Dallas Cowboy and counsel him a little bit, prep him a little bit about what to say and maybe what not to say. And apparently nobody did, which made this even harder. I did not want to hear him say, because it was not a very good idea, to say I'm going to come out, says Greg Hardy, guns blazing, when your accuser, back in your sexual violence case, said that you threw her on a couch that was filled with semi-automatic weapons? Really? Ugh, that made me cringe. And after all that you went through, and I guess we should refresh everybody's memory, a district judge found Greg Hardy guilty as charged by the accuser, but then there's a little tricky North Carolina law that allows an appeal to a different court for a jury trial, and she did not participate in that appeal, and there were many reports, including an indication from the police, that she settled the case out of court. She was paid off. So let's keep that in perspective. And now Greg Hardy yesterday takes another wrong path. Another one made me cringe, where he starts talking about how attractive Tom Brady's wife is. Hope she comes to the game. Hope she brings her sister. Hope she brings a lot of her friends. Just stop it. Just give it some time. Give it a rest, please. And then he goes another step, and he thinks it's funny. He's doing a little bit of shtick, and indicates that he votes for his Pro Bowl quarterback based on their choice of wife or girlfriend. Again, he's just trying to be funny. It ain't funny, Greg. Not now. Please stop it. at least he could have had the good sense to let some time pass before he started talking about guns blazing and how attractive quarterbacks' wives are. Just hit me the wrong way, Stephen A. It made me a little sick at my stomach. I'll still root for them, but man, I can't root for this guy. Sorry.
Well, I can't really say, excuse me, I'm still sick. I can't really blame you for your position on it. I'm not going to hold against him the specific things that he said, Skip, because he's paid to play football. And let's face it, regardless of how bright a lot of these athletes may be, sometimes articulating and elocuting their thoughts is a bit of a challenge. They don't get paid to do what we do for a living. They get paid to do what they do for a living. So the manner in which they say, or their word usage, you know, their diction, their tenor, their vocabulary, you're victims of habit. If that's how you talk, that's how you talk. So I'm not going to hold that against him as much as you have. Where I do agree with you is from the macro perspective. Somebody should have gotten to him and have talked to him, because Skip Bayless, I'm here to tell you right now, no matter how strong Greg Hardy is, literally and figuratively, I'm here to predict to you that if he doesn't change or modify his approach in some fashion, he's going to break before this season ends. And here's what I mean by that statement. When somebody's asking you a question about what the offseason has been like and what these suspended games have been like for you, you can't sit up there and sidestep by saying, I'm thankful for another day to get sacks, man. Any day I can wake up and rush the quarterback is an awesome day. At some point in time, you're going to have to deal with the allegations and ultimately the conviction from a bench trial in North Carolina. You're literally going to have to look at folks and address those issues. And the fact that you refused to do so yesterday is a bad sign. Because when the Christine Brennans, the wonderful Christine Brennan of the USA Today, and a plethora of other women working in this industry highlight the level of insensitivity that you may have and what you're lacking and how you don't even have the courage to address certain issues, they're going to sit there and interpret that as you not being nearly as remorseful as you should be, regardless of what the details may involve, according to Greg Hardy. And that they have every right to do. You proclaimed your innocence, even though you were found guilty at a bench trial. I understand you don't want to get into the specifics, but there is no reason on earth why you should have avoided the subject when you're addressing the media for the first time now that your suspension is over. It comes across as cowardice. It comes across as weak. It comes across as if you're trying to evade and deflect instead of taking things on head on. And as a result of that, they are going to continue to come his way. And that is not going to be good for the Dallas Cowboys. I understand that any publicity is good publicity in the eyes of some people. Not this kind of publicity.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You can't be synonymous with domestic violence and you refuse to tackle the issue head on.
Yeah,
you just can't do that because they're going to cause him unnecessary headaches. And more importantly, with Greg Hardy, Rich Dalrymple, who didn't get to him evidently, and others, if they didn't realize it or they forgot about it, they'll remember or realize it today. They're not going to just ask Greg Hardy about it. It's going to get to the point where they're asking his teammates about it. And not only are they going to do that, Skip, on a day like yesterday, they're going to do it when he's successful.
Yeah.
He could go out there and get 3 or 4 sacks. That'll prompt them to ask more questions. And it's all going to be because he didn't address it head on when he had an opportunity to. I think he missed an opportunity here. I think he made a huge mistake.
I agree. And it comes across to me as, from Greg Hardy's perspective, above the law arrogance on his part. All the rest of it, the talk, the sort of trash talk about Tom Brady. Look, we know Greg Hardy. We've had him right here on this show. He's a big talker. It's part of his persona. It's how he fuels himself. Remember, he nicknamed himself the Kraken in Carolina. And I got to say, he often backed up every word on the football field. But yesterday was not the time for him to reflex his verbal muscles and show you that he's still big and bad and full of himself and he's going to take it out on Tom Brady, blah, blah, blah. It just wasn't the day for that. You would like to hear, if not remorse, just a little bit, just a touch of humility, more I'm thankful, which we got a little bit of. I'm thankful for the opportunity. I'm just glad to be back. He is a lifelong Dallas Cowboy fan. And when he says, I'm here living out my dream of being a Cowboy, I take that to the bank. That's good. I wanted him to say that, and I believe him. But on the rest of it, it just comes across as so disrespectful to everybody that he left in his wake back in Carolina.
Agreed. I appreciate both of your comments there. But we're going to step aside right now from this subject, the gridiron, and head to the octagon. But we will revisit this subject later. The coach, Herm Edwards, will be in the house, and we'll revisit the Cowboys and the Greg Hardy situation. But right now, it's all about the ladies today, too. UFC champions are here. Ronda Rousey and Joanna Jędrzejczyk both are co-headlining UFC 193. We'll get into that and so much more. And welcome into another good hump day on First Take. Lots of good topics heading your way, courtesy of Stephen A. and Skip. Don't miss a beat by checking out our complete rundown, which you can find on Instagram.